Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Hello, Podderoonies, or Podsters, if you prefer. Yes, we are here again, recording another episode of our spoiler specials of recent releases, and this one is probably, I would say, my pick of the March releases. And yes, we are talking John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
All things spoilers. Yeah. I am Klaus.
I forgot about that guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's funny.
The Groot of John Wick.
Yeah. Well, let's give us a little rerun of what happens in this one then.
All right, so John Wick 4 starts at an undetermined amount of time from the third one. I think it's never explicitly stated in the film, but the director says it's somewhere like between 6 to 8 months after the third one, which is actually the largest time jump because the first three, if anybody has watched it, they kind of are back to back. But, you know, he needs to rest from what the fuck happened to him in the third one. Like, he was shot and he fell off a building, you know.
Falls off more buildings in this one.
Yes. Anybody else, they would be in traction for the rest of their lives, you know. John Wick needs 6 to 8 months and he's as fresh as a baby.
It's fine. He's clearly had a full skeletal transplant.
Yes.
Like Wolverine.
And I think he does like every 20 minutes, you know. But anyway, it's cool. So the plot is he wants revenge against the High Table. They still have an enormous bounty on his head from the third one, and Winston betrayed him, so he's pissed off. He's also teamed up after the end of the third one with Lawrence Fishburne's Bowery King. So after he's healed up, he goes to Morocco, just like from the third movie, because in the third movie he met the man who rules over the High Table, this shadowy secret organization that rules all crime in the world.
The Elder. He
tracks him down. Unfortunately, it's not the same Elder from the third movie. It's his replacement. The person from the third movie has apparently died at this point. John is looking for like his wedding ring that he gave the Elder in the previous movie. This new Elder doesn't have it. John shoots him, even though the Elder is like, this isn't going to solve anything. It's going to make things a lot worse. He's like, whatever. You know? So he shoots him dead, yeah. And lo and behold, it makes things a lot worse. The High Table puts another man in charge of everything to do with like the High Table, and he's an incredibly pompous, arrogant
Frenchman
idiot. Yeah, Frenchman, obviously.
The Marquis.
Yeah, if you want a pompous son of a bitch, you hire a Frenchman.
Well, it's Bill Skarsgård. He's
Yeah, he's not even French.
But there we go.
But he does a good job being a Frenchman. So anyway, the Marquis de Garmont, he starts his huge hunt for John Wick, but also like attacking all of his allies that have helped him previously, which includes Winston. So he kills Sharon and blows up the New York Continental and starts putting an ever increasingly large bounty on John Wick's head that goes from 18 million, and it just keeps increasing throughout the film.
40 million, I think.
Yeah, at the end it's like over 40 million. Another person is also after John Wick, a guy called Mr. Nobody, who is trying to keep John alive until the bounty is sufficiently high enough, which is kind of funny. So, and there's also an assassin, Kane, played by Donnie Yen, who's a blind friend of John, who is forced to hunt him down because the High Table has his daughter. John, after a lot of killing, finds out that there's a way to get out. He has to challenge the Marquis de Garmont to a duel. So he does some favors for his family, like crime family. So it's like the killing of this of Scott Adkins character, Killer. Then he challenges the Marquis de Garmont to a duel. It's going to take place at daybreak the next day, and the Marquis de Garmont has a change of heart because he realizes that John is a fucking killing machine. He puts an enormous bounty on John's head, which keeps increasing throughout the night, and John has to basically kill most of Paris until he gets to the dueling ground. Where he duels Donnie Yen's character, Kane. He does win because the last shot the Marquis de Garmont wants to do, so he takes the gun from Kane, but then he is immediately shot dead by John Wick, who hasn't fired his last shot. So John is free, Kane is free, everybody's kind of happy and stuff, and but unfortunately John succumbs to his wounds.
Supposedly dies.
yeah. So it's kind of ambiguous, but presumably he succumbs to his wounds and joins Helen in the hereafter.
I say presumably because Lionsgate is like seen the box office and like, maybe we should do a chapter 5 as well.
Yeah.
We're bringing you back, Keanu.
Yeah.
We need more money and more films.
Yeah, dig his corpse out of the ground. Make us more money.
He'll be 60 by the time the next one comes out.
Because
like these films take a long, long time.
Yeah. I actually had a really good idea for the plot of a fifth one, but you keep him dead. And now this is going to sound crazy. All right, this is going to sound crazy, all right? But
bear with us.
I posted this on a YouTube video which talked about the ending, and a lot of people seem to like it. So anyway, it was you keep him dead, but in the afterlife, he's gone straight to hell. Yeah. Like to the lowest rungs of hell.
Oh, yeah, because Winston says, do you reckon he's gone to hell or heaven, doesn't he?
Yeah, heaven or hell. And this is where you introduce, like, the supernatural shit. Hell is filled with gangsters, like demon gangsters, and he has to fight his way through hell into purgatory, kill everything in purgatory, and up into heaven, killing angels and shit, to be with Helen. What do you think?
Right.
And then I was even thinking John Constantine could come into hell, and then you have Keanu teaming up with Keanu, and it's a secret sequel to Constantine. Yeah,
that is cool, actually. Yeah, Constantine teams up with John Wick.
Yeah, you got the Johns.
Yeah. Constantine's like, sorry, dude, gung fu doesn't work down here. You have to do something else. Here's my gun. Use this.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah.
And you don't need to reload.
Yeah, it's holy water and crosses. I think that would be a great idea.
Let's talk action then. I mean, this action movie is insane.
It is pretty damn crazy.
I mean, we did, what was it, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania last time on our spoiler special, and I mean, the action is fine. It's meh, it's nothing particularly special. But when you look at something like, I mean, visually, there's a lot of CGI stuff going on, and the kids like that these days. But the adults of this world, and the late teens, we like people being shot in the head. And many times.
Well, not only shot, like this is the wonderful thing about John Wick is it always tries to spice things up. So, necks are broken, people are stabbed, people are thrown from buildings. He kills people with nunchucks. People die from swords, bombs, just everything you can possibly imagine. Flamethrowers, cars, bikes. People are killed with just about everything but a kitchen sink.
They have to do a kitchen sink at some point.
They do at one point. He needs to kill someone with a kitchen sink, or somebody needs to kill someone with a kitchen sink.
I'm glad the pencil came back, though, with Donnie Yen. He just grabs the pencil. I was like, yay, the pencil!
Yeah, the pencil came back, exactly, yeah. I thought that was great, yeah. So, a pencil comes back. Dogs, Mr. Nobody's dog kills quite a lot of people.
In the balls as well.
In the balls, yeah.
Poor dogs. Poor dogs.
That whole scene where he doesn't have a gun, but all those guys come at him with axes, and it becomes a huge axe fight. He slits somebody's face with a fucking playing card.
Scott Atkins, yeah.
So it's like, this is what I've always loved with the John Wick films, is even though they're primarily, pistols and guns and close quarters sort of gun fu, they'll always spice it up from fight scene to fight scene so it's not dull. You're like, oh, you want a car chase? Okay, here's John getting hit by several cars, jumps on top of a car, shoots the driver, gets in the car, and then fucking gets involved in a car scene, a car chase scene around the Arc de Triomphe in France, going against traffic, shooting people. It's like fucking nuts,
Yeah, I would say the Arc de Triomphe action scene makes the one in Mission Impossible Fallout look like a leisurely bike ride, frankly.
Absolutely. Like it was done by children or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's incredible, that scene. I mean, Keanu Reeves certainly trained an awful long time for this film, but to see him like drift around a set of cars in a muscle car whilst wielding a gun at the same time, that was impressive. And also a highlight in that scene was definitely two guys get knocked over by a car and John Wick shoots them in midair, in mid-tumble. That was amazing.
That was great. It was I love that clip and that bit, and I just think it's great because you're like, whoa, they're in the air. They've just been slammed by a car. It looks so real, and he fucking juggles them with bullets. It's like I think they're dead. It
was so creative, just like all the cars coming in and taking random people out, and the I would say very complex choreography, even with cars whizzing past them. That must have taken so much planning.
Absolutely. And I think the choreography is great because it's dynamic. And I think this is another thing I love about the action in John Wick movies, where it's kind of got a leg up of a lot of other action movies. So you never have a scene where John is only getting his ass kicked or John is only kicking ass. There is a dynamism to it. So he's beating the shit out of somebody, but then gets the shit beaten out of him. Mm. So when you think, oh, he's got it, even in the Arc de Triomphe scene, like he's beating the hell out of them, then he gets hit by a fucking car, and then you're like, oh my God, but then he like tumbles around, and then he's grabbing somebody, rams him into a bike. There's a dynamism to it where, do you know what I mean? It changes every minute or so where you're like, oh, he's going to win this. Oh no, shit, maybe he's not going to win this. Oh shit, he's going to win this. And I think there does feel like real stakes. So even though John is practically invincible, there are things that should have killed him many, many times. It still feels like in every fight scene he could lose.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, as badass as everybody talks about him, like, oh, he can kill 50 people in a room and have a fight scene that lasts half an hour. But in every part of that fight, you do feel like, dude, this no-named thug could kill him. He's getting licks in. I do like that.
Yeah, it was interesting listening to a few interviews from Chad Stahelski about the making of this film and what he kind of learned throughout all the films and going into this one. Because in previous films, he was like, okay, do we need this particular fight scene really long, or does it need to be really short in that particular scene? But in this one, he's going for this more of an epic style, this epic tone, and it was more to do with, like, in a particular scene, shall we make it shorter or longer in terms of, like, should Keanu be winning or losing kind of this fight in certain moments? But not in that particular scene, but as a whole, this film is 2 hours 45 pretty much, minus the credits. So I feel like Chad Stahelski he was saying that he was trying to balance the film a little bit more in terms of the epic scale of, like, okay, which scenes need to be a particular length, and when is it coming to its natural end? And I never ever felt for one moment that this is going on for too long in any action scene.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Whereas in Chapter 3, for me, I think some of the ones near the end, I felt like were going on too long.
Okay.
It's not really, it's drifting a little bit. Whereas this, I didn't feel that at all.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you there. One, there's enough space between certain action scenes where it does let you breathe. Unlike, say, for example, the last section in 3, where it's like action scene, and no plot through line, really, especially to the last couple of fights, where it's like a gauntlet after a gauntlet after a gauntlet, and you get a bit exhausted. And I think this film, even in the last stuff with Paris, you have huge fight scene after huge fight scene, but there is, it stops and breathes at least for a couple of minutes between fight scenes, so I think that helps. But also just how unique each fight scene is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they're very, very different. And so I think that does clean your palette of, if they were all the same, then it would start to be boring. But even just seeing it, like, you have this huge bit where he challenges the Marquis and he gets ready and he's preparing and all this other stuff, and the Marquis going back in his word. So you have this huge plot thing. But then when it gets into the third act and there's so much action, like each fight scene is different. It's like he gets involved in a battle in the streets. Do you know what I mean? Which is really inventive. And so most of that is like just open air, gun battle in the streets. Then it turns into they're trying to hit him with a car. He gets in hitting them with a car.
Oh yeah, there's a bit where he gets hit twice by a car or something.
Yeah.
It's mad.
I love the revenge he got on one of those I love the revenge he got on one of those motherfuckers though, because he gets hit into a car by another car 2 times, and then I love how he just gets fed up. He gets into the car, grabs the guy by the scruff of his shirt, drags him along as he's driving, and then launches him into a van or something. And you're like, take that, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, like tail whips him with the car into another van.
Yeah.
That was insane.
But then you've got a really cool car chase. Then you've got the ground fight in the Arch de Triomphe. Then what else have you got? You've got in an abandoned building.
There's one element that's really interesting with this film is the fact that it does feel very video gamey at times.
Yeah.
You are kind of controlling John Wick.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But certainly the abandoned house one wasn't my favorite, if I'm honest.
I actually do like it. I don't really understand what you're talking about. So I really did like it. I thought also it's pretty unique, done isometrically, top-down video game.
It's all bird's eye view, isn't it?
Yeah. So there are a few games that do that. I've not seen many films that try to replicate that.
No.
And also, it's done with like a different weapon. It's like a flamethrower shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is an incredibly unique weapon.
Well, that was really cool.
That was pretty cool.
But I think my problem is that the film establishes that there is a roof on the building, and you can tell very easily that this is a set, and that it breaks the immersion of that this isn't real, that you are actually watching a film, and this is a set. There is no ceiling here. It's just a little thing that just like, It's just one of my tics that I have, I guess, when I watch a film, because I always hate it when blood or dirt hits the lens. I'm like, well, I know I'm watching a film now.
Yeah, okay. I think we've discussed this before on certain films that like to break the fourth wall, that you're not like a huge fan.
No.
But yeah, but I got no problem with that. I thought it was a great action scene, and I thought it was it's done unique more than the other action scenes. What other action scene you got? The flights of stairs that comes a few minutes later. That was fucking cool. Yeah, so it is relentless, but I think it's different enough every 5 minutes that it's something exciting and new,
When we were talking about this whole idea of choreographing a action scene, of making John Wick kind of taking some hits and winning the fight, of course, as well, but that's very much personified in this action scene with the steps, where he fights all the way up the steps, and then just gets kicked all the way down.
Yeah,
and you turned to me in the cinema and said, "I wonder how many stuntmen died trying to do that."
Yeah, it looks real. I think it is real. There's a guy falling down several flights of stairs,
for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.
Which felt like 5 minutes.
And also, I think what was great about it is, and especially how they it's one of those things, like there's a pathos in it. He spends, because it's not an easy fight the first time up the stairs. It's a grueling fight of, he gets punched, he gets kicked, he gets thrown, he's throwing, punching, kick. It's a difficult fight all the way up these fucking stairs. He gets on the top, and is it Chindi or something? The right-hand man of the Marquis kicks him all the way down, like beats the crap out of him and just boots him down. And he's falling for minutes and minutes, and you're like, oh my God, all that progress, because it was a long fight. And you're like, oh shit. But then he just gets back up and he's going for it again. And I love it where Kane, who you think maybe he's come to just, finish John off so he won't have to duel him later. But Kane is an honourable man. And, John's on his guard, but then it's like, Kane's like, I'll help you. Do you know what I mean? Get you all the way up there.
Yeah.
And then it's this kind of pathos of like, oh my God, it's going to be, do you know what I mean? It's like they're teaming up. They're already great martial artists. It's going to be easier. He's got more of a chance. And they fight up the stairs, and it's really good. And then when it seems like it's going bad for even them two, they're getting overwhelmed. Then Mr. Nobody has a change of heart, and he gets involved. And so it's just really great. And I think also one of my favorite moves happens towards the end of that thing, where John is out of bullets. And did you see this? Where he takes apart his gun.
Oh yeah.
So it's sharp, like he takes the thing off of it, and then just starts stabbing the fuck out of some guy.
Yeah, I think he takes like the top of the barrel off, takes the butt out. So it's just like the middle bit.
Yeah. So it's just a sharp chassis of a gun. So it's just a knife. And he just starts stabbing the hell out of this man.
Hey, I'm James Lovino, and I'm here to tell you about Alternate Sides, a movie podcast with a twist. I've worked in the film business for 2 decades, but I haven't actually seen that many movies, and this has been driving my frequent collaborator, Sam, a self-confessed film snob, crazy. So every week, while he's stuck in his car trying to avoid getting a parking ticket, thanks to New York City's alternate side parking regulations, we discuss a classic film I've finally just gotten around to seeing. Alternate Sides, a new podcast about movies, parking, and a 25-year friendship, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, we are clear gun experts on this podcast.
Yeah.
The middle chassis bit of the gun.
The bit that makes the thing then go bang bang, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. Stabs him with that.
Yeah. And anyway, I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And
I love that reaction from Keanu Reeves when he falls right down to the bottom. He's like, looks at his watch. I got 2 minutes. Let's go again. Doesn't bother him.
Oh yeah, I think that was great as well, because you see the sun come up, like the light is coming up. You're like, there's no way. And then you're like, even Kane is like, how long have you got, John? He's like, 2 minutes. It's like, let's get on then. And it's just such a hype. Bit at the end. It was great.
The other action kind of scene that reminded me of a video game was the Japan action scenes near the start with like the armored goons. They look really cool. Like the only way you could really kill them was like at the neck area. So you had to get really close. It kind of reminded me of like, I mean, I'm not a huge gamer, but the ones I have played with like guys with massive armor plating on them is like Modern Warfare 2 or the Uncharted games.
Yeah. I think there's a lot in this series that reminds me of Uncharted.
Where you literally have to spend like 3 whole loads of rifle ammo on these guys to kill them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I did love the aesthetic of the Osaka thing, because like all of the bad guys have like samurai masks on their near indestructible armor. All of the people in the Osaka Continental, they're like traditional Japanese dress, and they're wearing and instead of, so you got the bad guys using machine guns and stuff, and they're using more bows and arrows and swords and knives and stuff like that.
It's a nice contrast.
Yeah, it's a great of like modern and ancient. And even a lot of the extras are doing really cool shit, like in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're getting stabbed. They're pulling each other over. They're breaking their neck. And there's even a lot of dynamism going on with like one and done characters, or just stuff in the background where you're like, my God! Not only have you got to like intrinsically choreograph what the good guys are doing and the bad guys, but even like the bit players, it does look like there's so much like thought put in.
Also, just with like the visuals as well, this film looks absolutely gorgeous. It really does in the neon lights. Like Japan, it's this very like, well, there's greens and pinks and blues, all neon lit, mainly at night.
Absolutely. And I think it greatly contrasts with the black and the more sort of somber tone. Like it's night, it's pitch black. You even have some of the interiors which are kind of, they're either beige or, do you know what I mean? They're kind of like more artificial and dark and sort of colors. But then you have luminosity, like the bright red neon lights or the green night lights that come on when they off the power and stuff. And so, there is a huge beauty to how it's all designed. One bit I really liked was when he got a hold of nunchucks. I thought that was great. And so then you have a combination of like gun fu and nunchucks. And I just thought that was brilliant, where John Wick is great with nunchucks. So Keanu Reeves had to learn how to use nunchucks. It's just going from like he's out of ammo, and so he just beats the fuck out of loads of them with nunchucks. And then when he steals a gun, just bang, finishes them off and stuff. So I thought that was brilliant. There's one bit I really liked where he's got the guy on the drum or table, and he's just like wailing on him with the nunchucks. Yeah.
But there is a funny moment there when he basically uses a nunchuck like a baseball bat to finish someone off.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
That was hilarious.
And I thought that was great because that's how they finished off the fight. Like, bang, bang, bang. They're both exhausted, and he's just like, whoa! And he just uses it like a baseball bat. Hits a home run.
And I feel like Donnie Yen as well was taking the piss out of John Wick as well, because there's a bit where he does the same thing with just his fist. He like, he winds up his fist and then punches someone to finish off.
Yeah.
He was insanely good. I haven't seen many Donnie Yen films, but I thought he was so impressive in this film. Yeah. So impressive. Yeah. Just the way he wields the cane sword with such fluidity and swiftness against all the enemies. Yeah. So quick in his action. There's like a moment where he's doing like this fist of fury on one guy. It looks incredible. But that's not the most impressive thing for me from him. The most impressive thing is the fact that this character's blind.
Yeah.
There's moments in the fighting where he's literally not even looking at the actor. his opponent, he's not even looking, he's just doing that. He's just punching and kicking and flaying his sword around. He's not even looking at the guy. I'm like, oh my God, how are you doing this? This is amazing.
I know, it was good. Yeah. I completely agree. The fact that he can fight and still he's acting blind. All of his limbs are in one direction, but his face is completely... And I love that. So he's actually got to learn sort of how to fight blind. I do love that one knockout where he's got the guy like pinned and he searches for his face with his hand. I like that where he's like, and then it's like, okay, bang, bang, bang. I just thought that was hilarious. So there's even comedy in the action.
Yeah, his comedy is great. Also, I really liked his entrance into the action in Japan, where he's just like in silhouette in like a little corner, just eating noodle soup or something with chopsticks calmly as the chaos is happening. Then one of the henchmen says something like, "Are you going to help us or what?" And then Donnie Yen is like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it myself," and then just kicks ass amazingly. And like the inventiveness of the doorbells, the proximity doorbells was so clever, I thought. Ding dong. That was fun.
I thought that was great, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was great. And I like how that was even set up because at first I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, he keeps putting these things. I thought they were maybe trip mines or something. But he puts these devices all around the kitchen and then draws his pistol. And then you realize what they are because when they go by them, it makes a noise. I thought that was so clever. You can have a gunfight, a really well-choreographed, suspenseful gunfight with a character who is blind. Like, that makes no sense. But the way it's done makes sense. You have these proximity detectors. And I just thought it was really inventive. What was it? The fight between... Donnie Yen and Keanu, I thought was pretty cool. Like, whenever he gets his hands on him, like Donnie Yen, he's kicking him through glass, kicking the shit out of him. But I love how they remind you, he is fucking blind. So if John just remains perfectly still, he doesn't know where the fuck he is.
Yeah, that was
he's got to find him, I thought that was good.
There is a moment where I'm like, don't move, John, don't move.
Yeah, I had that as well. Like, he's got the knife drawn. And I like how even Donnie Yen, he takes a couple of shots at him, and John is completely silent. He's like, "Are you dead, John?"
No.
And then, like, John is trying to be as quiet as possible. But when he reaches for the gun, he makes noise, and then just, hell breaks loose.
In his head, he says no.
Yeah.
When he reaches, he makes a noise, and then it kicks off again. But it's kind of interesting as well from a character and story point of view, that fight as well, because obviously John doesn't really want to kill him because they're friends. Because he could have easily killed him, I would say, John, in those moments of silence and stillness.
Yeah, he could have shot him straight in the head or, tried to stab him or something.
The Berlin nightclub action looked incredible as well with the waterfall.
Yeah, that was great.
There's some great moments where John Wick is like beating down on Killer Scott Atkins in a fat suit. Where the waterfall's just pounding on him, kind of little backlit. It looked incredible.
That looked amazing, yeah.
Also, I kind of find it funny as well, and Chad Stahelski has kind of addressed this as well, that it's in a nightclub and the dancers just still dancing, while everyone's getting kills. John Wick and Killer are just killing people, and it's funny. They're like, oh yeah, this is happens every Friday night. It's fine. Just carry on. Just stay out the way. I can still dance. It's like, no, it's the John Wick world. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. People get murdered in clubs all the time in China. It's like you're just used to it. Whatever. It also explains why in the Arts to Triumph nobody slows down. They're just like, whatever. This is always happening.
Well, that's real. Yeah, that's in real life. That's not John Wick world. That's the Arts to Triumph roundabout is fucking dangerous anyway.
But I did like that. Like, the nightclub and everything. I thought that was great. Also, Scott Adkins, holy shit. Like, because, you do forget under that giant fat suit, it is Scott Adkins. And he kicks some ass, man. Like, he's doing flip kicks and, do you know what I mean? I like that one move where he pulls John in and clotheslines him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so good.
And then it goes into slow motion and he's like, God, that was satisfying.
But there was moments where I was like, they're pushing the reality a bit too much. Maybe they kind of ran out of X-rated stuff that they could, R-rated stuff that they could use, because there's moments when Keanu Reeves is basically pounding on him on his face, and I was like, surely there's got to be some blood coming out of his face right now.
Oh yeah.
And there
should be nothing left of his face. Yeah.
He's like, we can't have any more blood. Sorry, mate. Sorry, Chad.
I also like, after that giant fall into the waterfall, these guys come out with axes.
Oh yeah.
And like John doesn't have a gun. I thought that was really cool. You got, the water pounding everywhere and, him disarming an axe and just going to town. Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
There's an axe throw kill to the head, which was great. Not as good as in Chapter 3, but it was kind of cool that they bring it back.
No, that one was fucking badass. And yeah. But some really cool stuff. And then how he kills Killer, I thought was funny.
Oh, that was brutal as hell. I was like,
that was
Jesus.
Brutal. Yeah, like he fucking bum rushes him and knocks him off. And I just love that because he was like, why won't you die? And he just pushes him off. And he just, like, he lands bad. And I think he lands straight on his head and just breaks his neck. It's just like a fucking paper cut. Yeah. It's like, and then I didn't know what he was doing to start with, because then he started punching him. And I was like, John, he's dead.
He's not you.
Yeah. To get his, like, grill.
You must think all assassins are invincible, semi-invincible. We must keep killing him.
Yeah, exactly. I bet he's like, man, I would survive that. I just respawn,
Yeah, but I feel like this fat suit does look a bit silly at times. It does stretch credulity and reality.
I think it maybe stretches reality because Scott Adkins is still a phenomenal fighter, even in it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure someone of that physique could do that.
Yeah, you're like, surely he should be fighting like a sumo wrestler. This guy he's fighting like he's skinny, like Scott Adkins. He's doing fucking spin kicks and twirls and stuff. Yeah, I did think that was a bit unbelievable. I was like, if you're going to make him fight like that, why didn't you just make him a thin man?
Yeah, just make him look like Scott Adkins, but just with a dodgy accent.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this film has kind of been accused of, by some people, that the John Wick character is a bit of a non-character. There's like nothing much to him. Like, all his acting is in his stunts, and I don't really agree with that. Like, his acting really hits home for me when he's in the Saint Martin Canal underground in Paris and says, "Loving husband," when they're talking about what they want on their gravestone. That's what I want my gravestone, and all the emotion kind of hits home for me in that point. I was like, you did not expect him to say that, or you don't really expect him to say much at all in this film. He really doesn't say much, but when he does say that, I was like, oh, okay, wow, this means a lot.
I also like the acting between him and Donnie Yen, where they meet in the church, the night before. I thought that was really good. Like, you can tell, obviously, I mean, there is the dialogue, but I think even the way it's delivered, he misses his wife. He really misses his fucking wife. And he's just tired of all this shit. And that really comes across. And, and obviously Donnie Yen is sympathizing with him because he is fucking tired of this life and he just wants his daughter. And there is a real connection there. And I thought they acted that well. They did seem like, man, these are good friends, like having a heart to heart. So I agree with that. So I would say like there are great acting bits from Keanu Reeves. I will agree that most of it is fight scenes and stuff, and physical acting, which he does really well. There are acting scenes,
Yeah. You got acting scenes in your film? What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, is there too much action? Do you think there should be more emotional character stuff in here, or is there enough? I think there's enough. To be honest,
I think there's enough. Like, I didn't leave the film. Like, for example, if you're going to end it with John, spoiler alert. I think we've already mentioned it, but with him dying,
yeah,
that's a big thing. And I think if there wasn't any emotion, one, I'm quite sad that he died. If I felt nothing throughout the film, I don't think that would pay off.
Yeah,
where I feel anything for his death. So I felt something for his death. And two, it's kind of bittersweet as well because he's finally free of the life, and you feel happy for him. It's great, and he's going to be with his wife. Which is all what he always wanted. So I think there's great pathos in the ending, and I don't think you can produce that emotionally unless there's enough
character work,
in the film. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think there's enough character work in the background to chew on.
Yeah, I think there's really good character stuff with Donnie Yen's character as well, and not necessarily with what he's saying with dialogue with any of the characters really, but his character is really interesting because obviously they established they've got a very long history together. They were partners, and it makes that final duel that much more emotional. And
because you don't want any of them to die, You're like...
Yeah, and obviously there is kind of a Captain America Civil War thing going on between those two. They don't really want to kill each other, even though he's Donnie Yen's Kane. His daughter is trapped by the high table or whatever. But also just like costuming and what they look like at the start, Donnie Yen looks like an absolute mess before he gets all tidied up and ready to go. He's got long hair, he's got a beard, he looks a bit scruffy. You're like, yeah, this guy does not look like an assassin. So it's kind of a good story for his character through costume as well. Yeah. Not necessarily John Wick, but I think the last duel I thought was great, but I felt like it could have been more epic for me. I mean, I've seen a lot of Westerns and this kind of scene done a hell of a lot better, especially in terms of score. And I think they didn't really push it enough with the score. I was like, oh, come on, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And it never really got there for me. And I felt like the scene was more establishing that Bill Skarsgård's character was an asshole than these two guys being great. And an emotional moment between these two, it was kind of taken over by Bill Skarsgård of being a dick. But it was kind of cool seeing Ian McShane calling him an asshole. That was funny.
Oh, and also, like just before the duel, as they're setting up, where he's like, "Remember, you're doing this for your daughter," and Donnie Yen's like, "Fuck off!"
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But again, I kind of didn't want those jokes in those moments. I wanted it. Yeah, I wanted the epicness to
be absolutely serious.
To be simmering, but it didn't get there.
Yeah, I do actually agree with you. I think they could have pushed it a lot harder and made it more epic, because I think it is a pretty cool gunslinging scene. But I think people will quickly forget that. People were going to remember, the last epic scene was the stair battle. That is the last epic scene, and then they have a duel, and then the film wraps up. But yeah, I agree. They could have pushed it harder.
But also, weirdly, the cinematography wasn't great for me in that moment. In those moments with the last duel, maybe it was because it was very natural light. There was some fakery there. It felt a little fake, that sunrise. I don't know, but it just didn't feel right to me. I don't know whether they were just like, we got to use real light now. What the hell? We've been using neon lights throughout the whole thing. That's a little criticism.
Yeah, I personally didn't have a problem with the sunrise. I think, visually it looks a lot different from the rest of the film, which is gloomy and dark and has artificial light. But I think that kind of and the way they light it, what's the word? It's like it's the opposite of the rest of the film. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean. Yeah.
So I didn't mind it. I thought it's a way to bookend it, and it's almost like metaphorical. Do you know what I mean? Like his entire journey has been in this dark, evil world, and now you've got natural light, and then he goes to heaven and stuff. So I think it's probably symbolic.
Yeah. Bill Skarsgård as the Marquis. I think his accent is a tad all over the place at times, but I mean, I'm no French expert, but it is a bit hello at some points, like good morning. Just killed Boaz with French accents.
Yeah, that's my kryptonite.
Yeah, it is a bit like, the fallen Madonna with the big boobies or whatever from Hello at times. But like throughout, I didn't feel like there was enough presence.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well.
With him to feel like a great villain.
There are much better villains in the rest of the series, I think.
Yeah, but there's a great moment with the tracker, and he like stabs his hand real quick and then makes him do a choice, but either like pull the knife out and you're not going to get your money or whatever, or he has to pull his hand out of the knife. That was like, ew, that was pretty gnarly.
That was horrible.
That was great. But yeah, that was the scene where I was like, oh, okay, here's the villain now.
And I think him showing those really disgusting malevolent tendencies, like it happens really late into his introduction.
Yeah.
I mean, he has introduced killing Sharon, so that you think, oh, what a wanker.
But anyone can pull a trigger, so
yeah, anybody can pull a trigger, and it isn't quite as sadistic. I do kind of agree. Like, you get the sense from him, not really that he's a threat, just that he's an ass.
Yeah,
and he's not that scary. I would contrast this because I think we've reviewed John Wick 2.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you agree, but I quite liked Santonio.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I really liked him. I thought not only is he a massive bellend, but he is a threat. Like, as a person, you just think he's like the devil himself. Do you know what I mean?
Best villain in the series, I would say.
I think he's 100% the best villain in the series. Like, when he dies, I just get such elation from his death, and I rewatch that on YouTube, his death scene again and again. I'm not going to rewatch the Marquis de Garmont because I don't feel that hatred towards him. I fucking hated Santiago. I really hated him, and I thought that guy's performance was great. I still think he is the best villain in the entire series, and Bill Skarsgård is not on that level of detestability. He really isn't.
Haruki Sanada as Shimazu. I think I've probably butchered all that, but I thought his action was pretty good. Like wielding like the katana and pistol in traditional dress was pretty cool. But when you compare him to Donnie Yen, there's only one winner really. He brings some cool emotion as well with his relationship with his daughter. I kind of would have liked to seen a little bit more of him. Of what we do see of him, I thought was pretty cool, to be fair, with his action alone. And Rina Sayawama as Akira, the daughter of Shimazu, I thought was great as well. And I thought she was really cool with her action. But there was like a really interesting fight with a massive guy from the high table. And it looks like they've really kind of worked out how someone of her stature, of quite small stature, can actually take out someone massive like that. I thought that was really well done and really thought through. It didn't look unbelievable.
Absolutely. Because, the problem where you're pitting two people of different physicalities is it seems like you have to either get them to fight the same where they're not the same, or you have to like really nerf down one of them. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't feel that. I mean, like, she's playing to her strengths. She's quick, he's big, much stronger, and she's trying to avoid him. Do you know what I mean? And climbing on top of him and getting out of the way of him. I thought that was really good. And I like the finisher.
Very stabby.
For his. I've seen it in the trailer, but it is still great, where she's like, she fucking gets on his back, starts stabbing the shit out of him. And then he's like climbing the stairs to get away from her, and she's still stabbing the bejesus out of him. Yeah, that was very brutal.
Shamir Anderson as the tracker, I thought was fine. I didn't think he was anything particularly special in this film. I felt like it was kind of a little bit of a reworking of Halle Berry's character from Chapter 3 with all the dog action. I guess it was interesting with the book. He has this book, doesn't he, with all these like underworld signs, symbolism that he's got, so he can find anyone. I'm not sure narratively that it was that particularly clear how he's an amazing tracker, but
how he can find John, like wherever the hell he goes. It
was fine. He kind of has a cool bit where he brings like a
I like that
chest plate of armor in front of him. That was kind of inventive, but
that was really cool. I like that.
For me, he's not the most memorable character, I don't think. But cool gun though.
And I think it's always good as well. The thing that they always tie it back down to dogs because this is how it started.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the dog action I quite like. Whenever dogs bite somebody's nuts, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I liked actually when the dog killed Chindy or whatever.
Oh yeah,
where it's biting the fuck out of his nuts, and then Mr. Nobody is like, "You shot my puppy," and shoots him in the head.
Oh yeah, that was great.
The dog takes a piss on his head. That was really funny.
That was definitely the funniest moment in the film.
Yeah.
Also, Lance Reddick, of course, isn't in it that much because obviously he dies at the beginning. It was such a sad moment because obviously we knew that he died in real life at the age of 60, which it was a really sad moment. And I didn't think he would die in this film. Because if they were like going to do another one, I think I said to you, like, you can't do another John Wick film without Lance Reddick in it. Yeah, it's just a really sad moment. He will be missed. But certainly one character that was heavily influenced from Marvel was I am Klaus. That was hilarious. I was like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. Yeah, it's their version of Groot.
Yeah.
I am Klaus.
Yes.
Maybe he should get a spin-off series.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the secret big bad of the high table in hiding in plain sight. That's all he can say.
Yeah, I also thought it was heartbreaking because towards the end, they talk about Sharon, and they're like, he's like, it took me a long time to figure out what to put on his grave tombstone. It's like, how can you simplify, such a life down to a few choice words, And I thought that's pretty heartbreaking because, he did die, And he was like, I put, he was a friend. That's got to hurt.
But yeah, that was a great little moment. Right, I think we'll leave it there then, people. Thank you ever so much for downloading our podcast. Thank you very much. It's time to end our John Wick Chapter 4 episode, and it's goodbye from the Mr. Encyclopedia Man, Klaus. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
And it's goodbye from me. Bonjour. No, au revoir. Bit of Only Fools and Horses for you there. Bye-bye. That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.